This is To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning. Culture wars at the schoolhouse, part of our local focus this week. There's a bill making its way through the Republican-controlled Florida legislature. Critics argue would effectively ban critical race theory from being taught in schools or in private businesses. Also, House Bill 1557, Parental Rights in Education, also known by its critics as the Don't Say Gay bill, that would prohibit instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through third grade. Todd Wilson went to the Palm Beach County School Board meeting last week for a reaction,
in which we express our displeasure and stand firmly against any legislation.
The vote was unanimous, 7-0. Palm Beach County School Board members approved sending a letter to Tallahassee. They're opposing House Bill 1557 and Senate Bill 1834, both officially called the Parental Rights in Education measure.
I think the most important issue here for me is that we are protecting our children.
The bills ban instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through third grade, or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students.
When we say that this will not only be incredibly damaging and harmful to the children that we are here to serve, not judge, harm, discriminate against, or bully.
Those in support of the bills argue the legislation gives parents more control over what their children learn in school.
The board's letter is inflammatory and disingenuous at best.
Opponents fear the bill could act as a ban on lessons on LGBTQ oppression, history, and discussions about LGBTQ identities.
Thank you for standing up for LGBTQ youth.
Todd Wilson, WPTV News Channel 5.
And joining me now is Erica Whitfield, representing District 4 on the Palm Beach County School Board. First take on what's going on. The culture wars have descended not only here but nationwide, and our schools are ground zero.
So yes, I understand that people are stressed, and we are having a lot of complaints coming to the school board meetings. We've gotten kind of used to it over the last couple of years, but I would say that it's just the center of a community. We are the center of a community. So when something's going on in a community, we hear about it. That's exactly what should happen. Is I want us to be the place where everyone comes to really feel a part of their community. So we have some parents that are upset. We have a lot of parents that have been very supportive as well. I've had some really great conversations with people in our community over the last few days, especially following that letter you just spoke about. A lot of people were really happy to see that we were standing up for our children. So
voicing opposition to the bill. Let me run some sound for you from the sponsor of the bill, HB 1557, the Republican sponsor, and I'd like your reaction to it.
Great, thank you.
We believe that the best environment for a student is an environment where the parent is empowered and involved. For children ages 5 to 9, that there are some discussions at that point that would be better having at home instead of being a part of the instruction of the classroom.
Straightforward argument from Republicans. Why do you disagree with it?
Well, I would say that it's actually a bill that we don't need because it's practice we've always had. Parents are empowered. They should be empowered. I have an 8th grader who's in our local school system. I've never felt not empowered in our schools. If a parent ever calls me, we immediately let them come into the school. They can look at any curriculum that they're interested in seeing. One of the issues with HB 1557 is that it basically says that we shouldn't teach sex education to children kindergarten through third grade. No one in the Palm Beach County school system has ever been teaching sex education to children under third grade. We really don't even speak about it in existence. There's a very small brief mention in 4th grade in relation to a statute where we have to talk about HIV just as an existence, but really it's not happening until you talk about middle school.
To Republicans who argue, then fine, this simply codifies what you just told me. What's the problem then, they'll ask?
So there have been some really stressful parts where if a parent is not supportive of their children and a child comes out to a teacher and says that they are gay or questioning, that needs to be shared with the parent. Most parents, I would say, it's perfectly fine. You talk to your children, you understand what's going on in their lives, and we want that kind of dialogue. I want you to understand where your children are coming from. There is a small percentage of children who may not do so well when their parents find out that this is what they're thinking about, and we worry about them. So to have a teacher call a parent and say your child is gay or questioning or having some sort of a concern on this, on their identity, we have had children who've been kicked out of their homes. We have had children attempt suicide. This will continue. I don't like the way that this is going. There is a piece within this bill that says that if the teacher knows that the child could be in danger, they don't have to. But this is again pushing that line a little bit further, and that is the concern that we have. All I want to do is get children supported so that they can get from the beginning of their school lives to the end of their school lives and feel that they can graduate on time and make it through our system.
Critical race theory, another hot button issue, another part of the culture wars that have descended on schools nationwide, including Palm Beach County. And that bill essentially, in fact, the Wall Street Journal touching on both of the bills, it's making national news even over the week. Last Friday, they said the Florida House also would designate as discriminatory any instruction of students or employees that say people are, quote, inherently racist or should feel guilt for actions committed in the past by members of their same race. Let's hear what Republicans in Tallahassee said and then your response.
We're not saying that you can't teach those historical events. That is clearly stated in the bill. In fact, we should have those conversations. That is unquestionably what should be taking place. But the manner in which it's done, it needs to be done in an objective manner.
Ms. Whitfield, your response, your reaction.
So I'm very glad that they are including the information about African American history and really supporting that in the bill. They are actually putting a bigger emphasis on it, so we're grateful for that. I do think that needs to be strengthened. They have turned it really into this piece where they're saying anyone from kindergarten through grade 20, so we're including all the way up through college classes, that no one can be made to feel bad. I don't know. It just
how chilling to you is that, candidly?
It's just, I really think we need to have honest conversations about race, and that is really important. And so, some bad things happened in history, and that's something that I feel honestly we need to be, clear with our students about. I don't want anyone to feel bad. Obviously, that's not the goal. But let me just say clearly, we do not teach critical race theory. We don't want to teach any of these things in our school. We have never taught critical race theory in our schools. I have actually asked many times to our staff, please tell me if there's any place where we are teaching this in our schools. We should stop because the community feels bad about this. It's just not happening. So I feel very comfortable that this isn't going to make a difference in anything that we're currently teaching, except for maybe to strengthen our African American history. But it does feel a little bit like a culture war and a political issue.
And as we look out to the mid and long term, how uncomfortable are you with that our schools increasingly, and some would say it's because of policies, but for whatever the reason and whatever side of the issue you're on, that our schools increasingly are becoming part of the political dialogue in a way that many of you perhaps did not imagine. You're navigating a whole new world right now. Bottom line that for me, your thoughts, your sentiment.
So I think it's very important that school boards and schools remain places where every child feels accepted. That includes people that agree with me and people that do not agree with me. And so I don't expect every person in this community to be on the same side as I am or agree with me on every issue, but every child should feel accepted. Every place that you go within the schools should be a place where a child feels like they're going to get a good education and their parents feel like they will too. So it's our job as school boards to remain as neutral as possible throughout all of this rhetoric that's going on and just make sure that we are providing the best education possible. I don't like the politics in schools. I feel like it's it's dividing in our community, and I think schools should be the heart of the community.
About 2 minutes left. One push that looks like it has foundered was to make school board elections partisan. Where's that gone?
So it's done now, thank goodness. That's something that I was really against because I feel like this.
So there won't be any push.
There will not be a push for it anymore. There has been some pushback against school boards that will be coming forward in this. We do have probably term limits are going to go through. That we think that's going to happen. They're looking at about 12 years right now. I think that's okay. We can live with term limits. They're still letting school boards keep their salaries, which is a really nice thing.
And briefly, I'd be remiss. The whole mask debate, Palm Beach County had pushed for masks. There'd been talk of sanctioning and taking away state funds. Where does that stand for counties like Palm Beach County that pushed back against the governor, that pushed back against Republican lawmakers. Where do we stand right now?
So currently 12 school districts stand to lose a combined total of $200 million, $28 million for just Palm Beach County alone. This would actually be the first time that Florida schools would have inequitable funding for their schools. So certain schools would get it and certain schools wouldn't.
What's your message to Florida lawmakers?
Please don't do this. This is just not helpful for our schools. We are already at the bare bones. I had a meeting with budget last week where I sat down and said, is there anything we can cut? Because we really want to support our teachers and give raises. We've already cut twice. 2 years ago we cut, well, last year we cut 5%, 2 years ago we cut 10% from our budgets. We are really as bare bones as we can be. And so to be able to give raises to our teachers and have to deal with $28 million coming off of our budget, it's just too much.
Ms. Whitfield, we appreciate your time. The landscape is a full one right now. Look forward to having you back to talk about other things that you are doing in the school board realm, but thank you for being our guest and To the Point.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Up next, stepping up to the plate for his political base. Back in a moment.